All right, this is a video demo on how to batch process multiple Adobe Illustrator files to another format. In this case, we are going to be exporting to the JPEG format for uploading to the server or the class website. So what we do first is we get a folder with our project in it. Okay, so here's my project 2 folder, and inside of that I've got points, lines, and planes. And of course, this could be project 3 or any project. Okay, we're just using project 2 because that's where we're at. So anyway, you'll notice that I got all my points, I got my lines, and so on. So I will first open up the folder, the file that I want to use as a template for batch processing all of these files. Okay, so what I want to do first then is I want to open that, and you can see here I got it open right there. Okay, point 1-1. Okay, so what will happen is we need to first create a new folder where our batched JPEG files are going to go. So we can create a new folder. I just right clicked on that, and we will call this points JPG for points JPEG. Okay. So now I have a target folder so that all my JPEG folders will go into here, and it won't confuse all the files that are in my AI files, in my AI folder. Okay, so it's not critical, but it's a good idea because otherwise everything ends up in the same folder, and then you got to separate things out. So, okay, we got our target, we have our subject folder, and we have our target folder. Okay, so now what has to happen in Illustrator is we have to record what's known as an action. So we go into our Windows menu and we go to the very first option, Actions. Okay, so that opens up our Actions window, and you'll see a whole bunch of actions in here that are that do a lot of things, okay? But we're going to make a new action to make this happen. So the first thing we want to do is we want to turn off the default actions because otherwise it'll maybe run everything, okay? So you see right up in here, there's this checkbox right next to default. So we'll uncheck that, okay? And so what we need to do now is we need to create a new action. And so what happens with actions are, and we'll just create a new action. You'll see that little button right there, create new action, right? Okay, so we click on that, and we'll call this batch to JPEG. Okay, now notice it says record. So what happens when you make an action is you're essentially creating a series of steps, and these steps will be followed once we have the action written, and then we can apply that action to a single file or multiple files. Okay, so once we start to record, it doesn't matter how long you take to record the actions. So if you're not sure and you want to, practice a little bit, maybe do that first, and then actually do the recording. But like I said, it doesn't matter how long it takes you to do the steps, but anything you click will be recorded. And so it's important to make sure that you have your steps practiced so you don't click something wrong and then you have to redo the action and so on. So let's pretend you've been practicing and we hit record. Okay, so anything I do from now on, we see this little batch to JPEG and it's checked. And so you can also record using this button here, but it's easier, to just start recording when you're ready to go. So anyhow, I need to export this file. Now, actions can do a lot of things. You can scale, you can do, filters, you can do all kinds of stuff. But what we want to do here is we want to just simply batch. And so we will go File, because that's what we need to do. And we want to export. And we want to export as, okay? So when we click on that, it remembers all that stuff. Now it remembers what's going to happen, right? So now I want to change my format to JPEG, and I want to make sure I use the artboard, and I want to open up this folder, okay? So now all the JPEG files are going to go in there, okay? And so everything so far is looking good. So now I just hit export. And generally speaking, the defaults are fine. A quality of 8 would be fine. You want your RGB model, which is all that JPEG supports anyways. This stuff is normally all the defaults are fine, so we'll just hit OK to that. And then that's it, right? That's all we need to do. We just needed to export that. So now what we need to do is we need to stop the recording. Okay, so now so we stop that, and that's all, right? So now we have our action recorded, and what we want to do now is we want to go back into this little menu option up here, and at the bottom we see batch. Okay, so we click on batch, and then we see what's going to happen here. Batch to JPEG, our source folder, and you might want to check that just to make sure. So we'll choose, and we'll go to our points1 folder. So far so good, so we'll hit choose. That's just in case you decide to batch later on and you've had other files open or whatever, okay? So then we want to go to our destination right here, and we want to hit choose. And in the, let's see, I need to navigate to that folder. It's deep down inside of my thing. Okay, so inside of that folder, in the folder, blah, 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 here's my points folder, right? My points JPEG folder. Okay, so I'm going to choose that. And so now everything in that folder is going to run through that batch to JPEG action. Okay, so now I just say okay. And you'll see all the different files that are in that folder popping up and batching. And when it's all done, it's asking me, I already saved that one, remember? So I'll just hit replace, doesn't matter. And then I'm done. Okay, so let me hide Illustrator. Actually, it doesn't matter. Let's just bring this back up again. Where am I at here? Finder. Okay. And now we see all our JPEG files. Okay. And so that's pretty much how it works. And that's the end of the story. So what we want to do now is, that was actually a kind of a surprise. I didn't think it would actually rewrite the AI files, but it did. So what you can do then is you can just simply open up that folder and you can sort by kind. And then you can move these you can move your AI files out, or you can move your JPEG files out, either one, okay? And then you're done. All right, so that's all there is to it.